Okay, let's unpack this. We are seeing what many are calling the biggest architectural shift in the AI space since maybe the Transformer itself. We're talking about the launch of a major new generation of models, which for today we're just going to call Model 3 Pro.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating here is that this isn't just an iteration. It's not just, more parameters. This is a fundamental redesign. They're trying to shift AI from being this sort of sophisticated text generator into an operational tool. They're explicitly talking about agentic AI systems that can manage entire complex multi-step workflows.
So our mission today is to give you the comprehensive shortcut. We want to really understand the core innovations in this new Model 3 Pro and all the tools that come with it. We need to get why it's such a huge leap. And, the big question is how it stacks up against its biggest rivals, like Model 5 and even the older Model 3 family.
To really frame this right for you, there are two key facts to start with. First, this whole thing is closed source. You only get it through specific developer platforms. And second, and this is the hook that got everyone's attention, Model 3 Pro immediately topped the El Arena text reasoning list. That's like the standard leaderboard for conversational intelligence. And maybe even crazier, it scored a perfect 100% on the AME 2025 math test when you let it run code.
All right, let's start with that term then, agentic AI. It sounds a little like science fiction. What does it mean in practice? How does it go beyond just writing a paragraph?
Well, if you think about the big picture, agentic AI means the model is built for orchestration, not just conversation. Think of it like a really, really competent project manager. It does the planning, the execution, and it coordinates with external tools, different apps, even different devices.
So instead of asking it to write a report, you can give it a much bigger goal.
Exactly. You can give it a high-level command, something like plan our department's retreat, go summarize all the relevant project docs from the last 6 months, and then book a location.
So it's taking that general idea and breaking it down into a verified, sequential, multi-step process.
Precisely. And we're seeing this with their new Gemini agent system. It's explicitly designed for these kinds of tasks, things that need live web browsing, parsing documents, writing code. Sometimes it will even pause and ask for your permission before it does something sensitive.
And for the developers listening, this new integrated development environment, platform anti-gravity, that sounds like where this all comes together. What's with that name?
It's a bold name for sure, platform anti-gravity. I think it suggests they believe they're fundamentally changing the physics of how you do development. It's an environment where the model, the code editor, the terminal, the browser, they're all linked. So the AI can manage a whole workflow, write code, design an interface, set up the environment, debug errors, all in one continuous flow. It's a huge step toward autonomous coding.
And speaking of verification, let's talk about those benchmarks, because they're not just number. You mentioned 90% on the MMLU test. What does that test actually measure?
MMLU is massive multitask language understanding. It's a measure of deep academic knowledge. We're talking 57 subjects. Really dense stuff like international law, advanced medicine, physics, history. Hitting 90% is just elite performance. It means the model has this comprehensive, nuanced understanding that's way beyond previous systems.
And then there's the math. Getting 95% on the AME 2025 without tools is impressive, but hitting 100% when you let it run code, that seems almost more important, doesn't it?
It is. It's critical. Because the AME isn't about memorization. It's about deep, multi-step mathematical reasoning. Achieving 100% with code execution confirms it can not just guess an answer, but systematically solve and verify a solution. The last generation was at 88%. This level of verifiable execution where it shows its work is what makes it ready for, critical institutional use, financial modeling, complex engineering, that sort of thing.
And that verifiable execution must tie into the security claims. They said this is the most secure model yet. That can sound like marketing, but is there a real architectural change there?
I think so. The ability to execute and verify its own code dramatically limits the potential for things like prompt injection attacks, which were a real problem for earlier models. When the system is built to self-check its outputs, especially when it's using external tools, the whole attack surface just shrinks. It's a byproduct of the agentic design.
Okay, let's get to the feature that got all the hype.
Yeah.
Memory, the context window. We should probably clarify, this is the model's short-term attention span, not true long-term memory like you'd get from our RG setup.
That's a vital distinction. For listeners, RG is retrieval augmented generation. That's when the AI looks up info in a separate database. The context window is its immediate working memory, and the confirmed input size is 1 million tokens.
1 million. Just to give that some scale, what does that mean?
It means you could load over 750,000 words in one go. You could feed it the entire annual audit for a major corporation, or a whole company handbook, or a year of financial filing.
And it just holds all of that information in its active memory while it's reasoning.
Exactly. The scale is just immense. It gives it a massive advantage.
Yeah.
Model 3 Pro's 1 million tokens just dwarfs Model 5, which, from the data we have, seems to be around 500,000 tokens. And the output window is huge, too, up to 64,000 tokens for generating, extremely long documents or code.
But wait, doesn't running a model with a 1 million token context window lead to just terrible latency and insane costs? That's always been the trade-off.
And that brings us to the real disruptive force in this whole launch, the cost revolution. This is where you should really pay attention. The price for developers using the API has absolutely plummeted. Input tokens are now just 10 cents per million.
Let me just repeat that, because that is the aha moment for anyone building with AI. 10 cents per million tokens, that's a reduction of, what, 22.5 times compared to the old Model 2.5 Pro? That was 1.25 per million.
Precisely. And that cost change completely shifts the economics. Things that were prohibitively expensive before, like, say, running an agent that audits every single customer service, call 247. You had to do that in batches. It created bottlenecks. Now, running that agent continuously is suddenly, well, it's feasible.
So we're moving away from these occasional expensive analyses to constant, sustained automation. What are some of the use cases that just became viable overnight?
Think compliance and auditing. If running the model over 1 million documents for an audit used to cost thousands of dollars, now it might cost tens of dollars. This unlocks real-time risk assessment, continuous data cleansing, even affordable personalized education, where the model can analyze a student's entire history in every single interaction. It moves large-scale AI from being an expensive experiment to a sustainable workflow.
And beyond just the cost, Model 3 Pro still has a strong lead in multimodality, right? Hitting up to 87% in tests that combine text, image, video, and audio.
And we have to highlight the key difference here. Model 3 Pro supports video natively. It can analyze high frame rate video and understand what's happening over time. Model 5, based on the comparison charts, supports text, image, and audio, but it doesn't have that native video input yet. And that ability to understand a dynamic video environment is critical for things like analyzing industrial failures or autonomous vehicle data or even complex sports analysis.
Let's shift to the developer controls that make all this agentic stuff possible. The ability to adjust speed versus depth with the thinking level parameter seems crucial. It's not one size fits all anymore.
It's absolutely critical for managing production resources. The thinking level basically controls how many internal iterations the model does before it gives you an answer. If you set it to low, you get minimal latency and cost. It's great for simple instruction following or chatbot where you need a fast response. It matches the speed of the older, faster models.
But if I'm running, say, a high-stakes financial analysis or trying to debug some really tricky code, I need that depth, even if it takes a bit longer.
Exactly. And the default is high. That setting maximizes the reasoning depth for those complex agentic tasks, multi-step planning, intricate code generation, verifying a mathematical proof. The trade-off is clear. The high setting might take several seconds to generate the first token, but the output is way more reliable. And when cost isn't the main barrier anymore, that reliability is key.
Okay. Another big one for managing that cost accuracy trade-off is media resolution. So if the model is looking at a huge visual input, like a video or a complex PDF, you can tell it how many tokens to spend on the details.
That's right. Media resolution controls the max token count for each image, PDF page, or video frame. And it's a really important strategic control. If you're reviewing millions of scanned expense receipts where the fine print really matters, yep, set that to high.
And what does high actually mean in terms of resources?
High resolution uses up to 1,120 tokens per image or PDF page, or 280 tokens per video frame. It lets the model read tiny text, spot tiny defects. But if you're just classifying a 500-page low-density manual, you can set it to low. You can serve tokens, you fit way more pages into that 1 million token window, and you ultimately save money. It's about picking the right fidelity for the job.
Lastly, we have to talk about thought signatures. This sounds super technical, but it seems to be the glue that holds these multi-step agent tasks together.
That's a good way to put it. Think of a thought signature as the agent's encrypted little save state, or a scratch pad for its thinking. When the model decides it needs to call an external tool like to look something up in a database, it pauses its chain of thought. The thought signature is a token that preserves that entire internal state.
So when the tool sends the data back, the model needs that signature to remember why it even asked for the information in the first place.
Precisely. If you don't return that signature on the next API call, The model essentially forgets the context of what it was doing. You get a system error, a 400 error. The good news is the SDKs handle this for you automatically, but understanding this is key to seeing how these complex sequential tasks can now run so reliably.
Okay, moving from the cold, hard reasoning to creativity. The ecosystem has really expanded with new generative tools. The one getting the most buzz seems to be the new video generation model.
That would be VO 3.1, and this thing is capable of creating stunning high-res video clips. We're talking 720p or 1080p for 8-second segments, and it comes with native AI-generated audio that's synchronized to the action. It's really good across cinematic styles and with very complex prompts.
The control features seem to be what makes it a professional tool, though, specifically being able to use reference images to guide the video.
This is a huge leap for consistency. VO 3.1 lets you use up to 3 reference images. So an image of a specific person, a product, or even a visual style you made with their image model, Nano Banana. It uses those to guide the content and the look. This solves that old problem of an object or person changing appearance from frame to frame. It stays consistent.
And you can even control the story by setting the first and last frames, right?
Exactly. You can specify the first and last frames, and the AI will interpolate the action in between.
Yeah.
But the extension features may be the most impressive. You can extend a clip you've already made by 7 seconds at a time, up to 20 times. That pushes the total length up to potentially 141 seconds.
Yeah.
That's moving from animated GIFs to actual narrative storytelling.
Which confirms that Nano Banana, the new name for their image model, is still essential. You use it to make those detailed source images that VO needs to keep things consistent. The whole ecosystem is designed to work together.
Okay, let's try to consolidate the key takeaways for you. This whole update Model 3 Pro and its tools, it represents a very clear, very decisive shift from simple conversation to operational automation. And it's all supported by these drastically cheaper and more controllable API tools.
The tech leap into these agentic systems is phenomenal, but the real disruption, especially for businesses, is that huge reduction in cost. That 22.5 times cheaper input. That is the variable that changes absolutely everything.
So what does this all mean for the immediate future? Well, it raises a really important question. What happens when the main thing stopping us from running massive continuous AI agents, the cost, is basically eliminated? This moves sophisticated enterprise AI things that have to review huge amounts of data, like internal audits or supply chain logistics, from being this expensive proof of concept to a sustainable, scalable workflow almost overnight. I think we should expect to see an explosive acceleration in the deployment of these complex corporate agents, starting pretty much right now.
A truly paradigm-shifting moment for AI in the real world.
We really hope this deep dive gave you the clarity you needed on this massive launch. We always want to hear from you, so please share your opinions and your suggestions in the comments below.
And if you found this conversation valuable, don't forget to hit that like button.
Please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new material.
And be sure to share this deep dive with others who need the shortcut to being well informed. We'll catch you on the next one.